Joe, did this game not go exactly the way that we thought it would go?
It played out exactly
the way that we thought it would play out. Like, if in case you missed our shows from last week, go listen to our show last week. This game played out exactly. Joe, I thought that Washington would be able to Utah would be able to move the football on them. That's how bad Washington is defensively. Speaking of these top tier teams, okay, in the country, I think Washington's the worst of them. Like, I think that they're I just don't know, Joe. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, who had a really tough game against Miami. Okay, and shout out Emory Williams. What a dog.
Yeah,
okay?
He played well. It's tough that I buy a quick just moment of shade. It's so hilarious that Tyler Van Dyke doesn't even start, and they call upon him. He comes into the game
and he throws a pick,
and he still throws an interception. It is so goddamn funny that man is so prone to throwing interceptions that it only took him one drive in a football game to throw it. But continue what you were saying.
He was trying to make something happen. It was fourth down. I mean,
yeah, I know.
Okay,
I know. But on paper, it's hilarious.
It looks horrible. I just don't think Washington's good enough to win it all. Do I think that they could win the Pac-12 still? Yeah, I think they could beat Oregon and win the Pac-12. They get into the playoff, somebody is going to just absolutely obliterate that defense. They're just not well-rounded. The problem I had in this game, Joe, and I thought that it would be a little bit of the opposite. Utah could not run the football in Washington, and they abandoned it. They completely abandoned the run. The interception safety thing where the kid dropped the ball right before the end zone, as crazy as this sounds for Washington, completely turned the game against Utah. Completely. They did not, Joe, after that, did not score another point.
No, they couldn't move that's a huge, talk about arrogant and taken out of you as an offense to throw a pick six, not to be a pick six, and then to give up a safety. That's a huge, just completely took the air out of them.
The air out of them, suffocated them. They couldn't do it. And look, Bryson Barnes, I thought that he had to go over 250 to make this a game. He did, but he threw the two picks in there. Joe, he was their leading rusher. I did not see that coming. If they would have had any resemblance of a running game, they would have beat Washington.
Here's what I think, and I don't disagree with your take that they're not one of the national championship capable teams. I don't disagree with that. I think that there's three teams that have shown to me the most balance, maybe four teams that are ahead of them. But we can't knock Washington for the one simple fact that as deficient as they've been in some games and as bad as they've been in some games, they still have found ways to win in the most important matchups that they've had this season against Oregon, against Utah, and against USC.
Let me ask a very easy question that I don't want to yell and argue over.
Okay.
How many times can we come out here on Sundays and have that excuse?
But it's the same thing as TCU. And I think there's a reason why you don't like them. And there's a reason why I like them is because I was willing to have fun with it and be excited.
TCU,
they're going to be, brother. They're going to be this year's TCU. Here's one thing I just want to elaborate on a point that you're talking about here, that the Utah abandons their run game.
It's so stupid from them.
But that's what Washington positions teams to do. And that's why I think what makes Washington dangerous, that even if they're in a mismatch where, say they play Georgia or they play Michigan or they play Alabama, a team that many would expect them to lose to, they force teams to play their game, unlike any team in the country. And their game is fast break basketball. We're going to pass the ball up the court and we're going to score some points. They do something that no other team in the country is doing right now. Nobody. And I have seen on a weekly basis, every single time that they've played somebody, teams try to keep up with them and do that. In the biggest matchups that they've had, I know that they looked like shit against Arizona State and that they looked like shit against Stanford. But everyone tries to keep up with them by playing this fast, pass-happy offense like they're doing, and it doesn't work. That's what makes them dangerous. It's kind of like what Lincoln Riley did at Oklahoma. It's very similar. But I would argue that this is more offensively potent the way that they're doing it because they're more downfield aggressive. I still stand by it that they could get in as a 4 and maybe pull out an upset like TCU did last year.
Well, the number 1 seed, if they got it in 4, they'd have to upset Georgia.
That's a good point. That's probably not happening. So if they got like a 3 and they played Michigan,
and let me say this. Let me say this, okay? Because this is why these games matter. If they lose to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game on that Friday night, which I think me and you need to do a post-game show that Friday night.
I'm down for it.
Okay. If that happens, and let's just say Alabama upsets Georgia and wins the SEC, who's going to get left out? You going to leave out Texas, who beat the SEC champ?
Well, that's what completely.
Are you going to leave out Ohio State that could have a 1 loss? Are you going to leave out Michigan that would have a 1 loss? That's why these games, when you only win by 7 and your defense, Joe, Utah is the number 118 passing team in the country. They are 108 in total offense. They are abysmal. They've gotten a little better, sure. They are abysmal. And for you to allow in back-to-back weeks over 75 points is just it's insane. Joe, they're worse defensively, statistically, than teams like South Carolina almost. They're in the same realm as South Carolina. They're worse than LSU, that everybody's trashed because of Jaden Daniels. They're worse, right? And so you're going to have to convince me that if they were to lose to Oregon, they're not getting in. They got to win out. They're going to have to win out because if Texas wins out and Alabama does, I think there's no way you keep Texas out. None.
I think that if Washington wins out, they get in over Texas. I think that having
sure if they win out, but I'm saying if they were to lose to Oregon is the scenario I'm trying to paint here.
Yeah, I almost don't even want to try to wrap my brain around that situation because you would basically have 6 1-loss teams or something insane like that. If Georgia loses to Alabama,
if that scenario played out. If Texas went out, but no. Well, yeah.
Wait. Let me throw this out there. Because the winner of Michigan, Ohio State, there's going to be a 1-loss team. There's a 1-loss team there. There's a 1-loss Georgia, 1-loss Alabama, 1-loss Texas, 1-loss Washington, 1-loss Oregon, and we don't know what happens with Florida State, but they might be undefeated. There's 8 teams that could get in right now, which is insane.
This is chaotic. A pair of teams are going to now look, here's probably the truth of it all. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen.
Someone's going to lay an egg this week. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, somebody's going to lay an egg. Who does Washington play?
Oh my God. Let's see who they play.
Yeah, let's see who does Washington play this week.
Of course, that's who you go right to.
I got to know.
They play Oregon State.
Oh shit!
They could lose to Oregon State.
Where's that game at? Don't tell me it's in Corvallis.
It's in Corvallis.
Oh shit! Washington's gonna get beat.
Wait, really quick. Who else?
And you know what? You know what's funny about that? Washington might have had the game plan laid out against Utah to how to beat them, and Oregon State can actually accomplish it. DJU is not worse than Bryson Barnes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's actually, by the way, there's not a lot of good games next week.
Yeah, not a lot of good games. A lot of teams in the SEC State play Rudy Poos.
Yeah. There's so few games for some reason on ESPN. They shoved all the Division II matchups in the top 25 scoreboard.
You know what's interesting? You know, I think Texas is on upset alert.
Texas is?
Yeah, Iowa State.
Dude, that offense took a plunge when Jonathan Brooks came out of the game.
Completely. And tore his ACL.
Yeah, he's done. He's done for the year.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've been saying this for 3 weeks. I've been circling this Iowa State game for 3 weeks. Watch them blow them out.
Dude, wait. I needed to just I kind of was nodding my head at what you were saying. Iowa State's garbage.
Okay.
Ohio State is
You know who else is garbage?
Tennessee.
Damn.